Hello and welcome to part 2 of my reclaiming yarn, rainbow yarn project. I have carded all of my little pieces and I've also decided on how I'm going to spin, and a little bit sort of more of those decisions that I was doing, so that I wasn't sure about the last time. So I've got all of my rollags here all carded up and fluffy and separated by colour. So this box has got red, and if I look at the tissue paper I've got orange, which is more neon in person, and yellow in there, and this is an old Pucker tea box I don't know the flower on, and then in this gift box, which is roughly the same sort of size as this shoe box, we've got green, blue, purple, and because I think it's a nice transition colour, pink. So that's all of my rainbow yarn roller colours. I was watching someone on Twitch a while ago and we were talking about spinning and yarn and knitting and how the spinning can be the craft. Like, it's not that you want to make the yarn to use it, it's just you want to make the yarn to make it, and that's the making. And honestly, there's something about like the carding is almost the craft. Like, this feels like I've completed a project in a way, even though it's just one step, and I am going to continue it, but by itself that's given it a little dopamine rush. I'm going to do 3 repeats of each colour, so I'm going to separate out into 3 and possibly organise it in the box slightly differently so it's there and it's ready for the next bit, or I might use the little basket that I've been using to have rollags in to practice spindling. I have decided I'm going to do it entirely by drop spindle. I do have a e-spinner, iSpin. I did a full review on it and I do really like it. I couldn't make it work with my really tiny pieces, and I think because they're acrylic they're not felting onto each other and locking onto each other like wool would if it's got the cuticles, and if it was like longer bits it probably wouldn't be a problem, like carded roving or whatever, but because it's such small pieces I sometimes find that I'm getting really skinny bits coming out and like bits breaking off and little bit fluffy bits kind of trying to fly away that I've got to put back in manually, and I've just got to stop even the speed of spinning by hand. So I think spinning by hand, I've been doing a lot more of it, I've been practicing with it, and I think that's probably going to be what I do as far as any of this really short reclaimed yarn work. I think it just makes more sense. It might be as I get better, or maybe if I'm combining some kind of short and long fibre, so if I've got like regular long wool and then maybe some short bits of acrylic in there as additional like colour elements, which I've been thinking about, then that'll probably go quite well on the e-spinner. But I think for this, where it's all kind of short pieces, I'm going to drop spindle it. And I'm still really happy with the idea of chain plying. This is some of the, I've been calling it Tutti Frutti yarn that I sort of demoed, so I did a really long piece. So I'd done like that tiny bit in the video, I'd done another little sort of bobbin length of it, so this is probably about 8 grams worth, because I wasn't really sure how I felt about loading up the spindle with like a massively long single length. I thought, am I going to be ending up with multiple pieces? I'll see how I go. It might be that I end up making, in that 3 repeats, I end up just making 3 balls, like 3 separate sort of carded pieces, 3 separate pieces on a card, not carded, 3 separate like chain plied pieces, and then I just tie them together in knots when I come to knitting them. That might just be what happens if the drop spindle is starting to get like massive and ridiculous. I'm not above that. And I did a little experiment with colour changes, so I just grabbed out, not out of this supply, just out of the big mixed bag that I had. I got some blue and I got some pink, and I had a go at either just going from the blue to the pink and then chain plying it, and I separated it out. I made a rollag of blue and a rollag of pink, and I separated it out into 3. and one piece I just did blue and then pink and then chain plied it in the middle, like where the colours joined, to create a little bit of a blend. And the other one I picked up the little piece of pink and I picked up the little piece of blue and I carded them together. So I did a mix. After I'd carded them, I pulled a bit out of a roll egg, carded them up together, and then I spun that as a transition colour. So I did the blue, mixture of blue and pink. So this is the first one, and this has got like all of my blue, all of my pink, and this is just the chain ply across the middle without the additional carding. And I like how that's turned out. It's got kind of the blue and then the pink and then the blue, and it's sort of like enough of a nod that it doesn't feel like too jarring a colour change. Plus also these colours are like already multicoloured. So even just within the pink and stuff, we've got these darker bits of pink, we've got this kind of lighter bubblegum pink, we've got this really bright pink just on the join. It's all sorts of different colours, and the same with the blue, where we've got kind of quite a lot of this bright turquoise that I've ended up with in this bit, but then we've got a few of these darker bits of navy just before the join as well. So even in this like single wrap here, we've got like a bright fuchsia and a bubblegum pink. So there's a lot of variation even just within this join. And I don't know why, but I think maybe it's because of that multicoloredness. I don't think it looks too stark a colour change almost. Like it does look like a blend, even though it's just striping it in almost. So I think that looks okay. For comparison, this is the one where I've carded the different colours. So this is blue to here-ish. And then this is the pink-blue carded section. And then this is the pink. Obviously, there's only a small sample. I've ended up with quite a long bit in the middle. I think this probably looks better. This makes quite a nice transition. So you've got little bits of pink and you've got little bits of blue. Weirdly, because they're different strands of colour as opposed to like it's acrylic dye. I've not changed the colour of it. I've just worked it. You're not getting strands of purple. So despite the fact that I've combined blue and pink, you would expect a purple, and maybe like visually from a while away you get that, but what you get is blue pink. And like the individual strands don't mix, so you can see little individual bits of blue and individual bits of pink, and there's like not a single piece of purple in there. Which I think is quite interesting, because when I've worked with other variegated yarns, if they've had a softer transition between colours, usually it's been because you've got a middle colour of purple or something else that's equally like blue, bluey purple, mid purple, pinky purple, pink. But that's not what happens here. So I think ultimately this does look better. It does look softer. But I don't think it looks significantly different, and it's also more work. So I think what I'm probably going to go with, despite the fact that I think this sort of carded together looks better, is just the chaining across. Also, these are two very different colours, and I'm going to be going from one rainbow shade to the next. So I'm going to be going from like yellow to orange to red. Like they're colours that would naturally sort of blend across anyway. So yeah, possibly see you with the spun bit and anything else that I've learned in that time in the next video. See how many rubles you can fit in your dead rats.